We have joining us the chairman of APGA, Barr Sly Ezeokenwa. Barrister, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I've been looking for you since a stakeholder with all my torchlights. I said, Barrister, you will not escape me this time. You must come to studio.
Well, I'm here.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Now let's take a look at the development. Yesterday I saw on the social media, INEC has replaced National Chairman of APGA with the name of Edozie Njoku and some other. And INEC said they did that because they had court papers with them. And they didn't take that decision immediately, but rather what they did was to sit with their legal team.
Yes.
And I know that INEC has senior advocates and senior lawyers in their legal team.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, the advice was that do that with a court order, so that they don't say it's not a business of the commission, whatever happens in the political party.
Yes.
So what do you have to say? There's a development now.
For me, the position of INEC, as communicated after their routine commissioners meeting yesterday, is to say the least laughable. You know why I say it's laughable? INEC did say that they were purportedly obeying a court order. And the next question, or the next question any reasonable person would ask is, which court order? Because that's the next question. I am a lawyer. And then a judgment or an order of court must be clear, precise, and unequivocal. There is no order of any court anywhere directing INEC to recognize Edozie Njoku as the national chairman of APGA. And that's why I say that it's laughable. INEC purported to base their decision on the recent judgment of the Court of Appeal, which was delivered on the 28th day of June, 2024. And that judgment was as a result of the right of appeal exercised by the former national chairman. Because to understand the background to all these things, you have to look at first of all, what were the orders made by the High Court in Buhari? And then you juxtapose it with the reliefs sought by the plaintiffs. Because the plaintiffs in this suit or in the said suit were one Otumba Kamara, Latif Ogidan, and then Alhaji Rabiu Mustafa. Purportedly, as members of one Edozie Njoku's faction of the APGA leadership. In the course of this program, I will take you memory lane on the decisions. That's why I said that the decision by INEC is laughable. As at the last count, there are about 2 subsisting or 3 subsisting Court of Appeal judgments on this issue.
The same issue.
The same issue about whether Edozie Njoku was ever elected as national chairman of APGA. There's a judgment of the Court of Appeal in Kano, presided over by Honorable Justice Haruna Samani, now Justice of the Supreme Court. There is another judgment of the Court of Appeal, presided over by the President of the Court of Appeal, the current President. She was the one that presided. And then Honorable Justice Hannatu Sankey, now Justice of the Supreme Court, delivered the judgment. Then there is the 10th judgment by Honorable Justice Dawood Williams, delivered, I think, sometime last year. 3 Court of Appeal judgments. And now the question is, will the Court of Appeal judgment set aside another Court of Appeal judgment? And the answer is no. In any event,
are they the same? Are they the same matter?
The same matter, the same issue.
Was it an error that the Court of Appeal didn't know?
That's the thing.
Similar matter.
Now, and that's why I said that the decision by INEC is not only questionable, it is laughable. The judgment of the Court of Appeal affirming the earlier judgment of the Buhari High Court, the court never pronounced Edozie Njoku national chairman. One of the justices that sat on the appeal made it emphatically clear, while we disagree with him on one angle, because he said that by the corrected Supreme Court judgment, that Oye had no right to act as national chairman of APGA. Now that's a wrong interpretation of the corrected Supreme Court judgment, which is an issue for another day. But the point I'm trying to make is that in that judgment, that court stated explicitly that the Supreme Court never pronounced Edozie Njoku as national chairman of APGA. In this judgment that INEC said...
The problem is that's the because the matter is not between Edozie Njoku, but rather you got the name of the person.
No, but they are those claiming, because the background to the issues before the court was that claim that they were elected as National Executive Committee members of APGA at a phantom convention held in Owerri. Because that's where all these things started in 2019. I don't even want to go into the issue of, by the constitution of APGA, have the constitution here. Assuming without considering, let's assume, for whatever, for sake of argument, that they were at all elected. It was for a 4-year tenure, which ordinarily elapsed on the 31st of May 2023. We are in July 2024, over a year plus. And APGA has conducted convention monitored by INEC, where I emerged. And from my emergence as the national chairman, I have always exercised the functions of my office as the national chairman of APGA. And that's why I say it would have been ideal for you, just like you said, INEC has some senior advocates in their team. It would have been ideal for you to get either their opinion or for them to appear and tell Nigerians the order of the court that asks them to recognize Edozie Njoku as national chairman. Because there is no way you don't see politics. We've had this kind of running battle with INEC in the past. If you recall, in 2021, in the rundown to Professor Soludo's election, then I was the legal advisor of the party. I was here severally when they started their Makabe dance somewhere in Jigawa. And INEC uploaded another person's name as the candidate of APGA for Anambra governorship election. And we went through that tortuous battle. And at the end of the day, we emerged victorious. And it is still that same process. Because this judgment of the Supreme Court is clear. There was a finding on this issue, and that's why I'll try as much as possible to take you back memory lane. Because this whole thing about Edozie Njoku, first of all, the Electoral Act is clear. Before you can emerge, it's only at a national convention that officers of a party emerge. And that national convention must be duly monitored by INEC. Clear. I've said it severally. If Edozie Njoku appears in this studio tomorrow and shows us a certified true copy of a report of INEC monitoring his convention, I will vacate the seat for him.
So if you say that
yes,
means INEC should know.
That is the problem.
That's the problem.
That's what you're saying.
Were you there to say that INEC didn't monitor?
No. I said if he
can give you the report.
I said if he produces a certified true copy of a report
from
INEC, I will vacate my seat for him.
Don't be too sure.
I am telling you. I said if he can produce, because we've had about 3 different matters, and if he had one, he would have tendered it in court. Now, first of all, after the judgment or the phantom judgment of the trial court in Jigawa, because that was the first place, or even before then, he had gone. Because if I tell you his trajectory, and I have been his nemesis for long, he first of all went to Bauchi in 2020, where he went to surreptitiously validate a phantom convention in Bauchi. Meanwhile, you said the convention was held in Owerri. What were you doing in Bauchi? Now, the matter was eventually transferred to Abuja before Honorable Justice A.R. Mohammed, now Justice of the Court of Appeal. At the end of the day, the court stated clearly that the issue of who is the national chairman of APGA is within the internal affairs of the party and therefore non-justiciable. The court struck out his suit. That was the first one. Then secondly, they went to Jigawa. One Jude Okeke and one Rabi.
That one has nothing to do with Edozie Njoku.
No, because you have to understand that suit is the background to all this. I don't like using harsh word on TV, otherwise I would have said it's the background to all this madness. But that would be a very harsh word, so I won't use it.
But you've already said.
No. I said I won't use it.
But you've already used it.
No, I won't use it.
But I mean, maybe you do want to use it.
No. I didn't want to. In fact, I'm not using it.
You're not using it.
I'm not using it. Now, in Jigawa, the fabrication, because that's a fabrication, the affidavit they swore before the court was that there was a convention in Owerri which produced Edozie Njoku. That convention, subsequently, they came together and suspended Edozie Njoku. And in his place, returned Chief Jude Okeke as the acting national chairman.
That was what the court at that time said.
No. The story, you must, and that's
I followed this story
that's
from
where
the
all these confusions are. I am
yes.
coming.
Yeah.
Before we go to the court finding, that is a story, a claim before the court. When you come, assuming you bring a suit bordering on title to land, you're telling the court that this land belongs to you based on so and so. That is exactly the same thing they did in Jigawa. They said that Edozie Njoku was the national chairman, elected at a convention in Owerri, and subsequently suspended. You must follow this story.
It was the Okeke faction that suspended Edozie Njoku. I am aware of that.
It's not their own faction. They are together.
No, at a time, APGA had 3 factions.
No, you need to understand this. That's why I said, just follow me. Edozie, that Jude Okeke was, in their story or in their contraption, was Edozie Njoku's deputy. So he said upon suspension of Edozie, that he now stepped into his shoes
as the chairman,
as the acting chairman. That's the background of the story. Now, meanwhile, none of these parties or persons was ever national chairman of APGA.
So what happened to Okeke at that time?
I'm coming.
Because I remember that Okeke got a court judgment.
You see, and that's why I'm saying, you need to follow this story.
No, I understand what you're saying. Okeke got a judgment.
That is the
and INEC also removed the name of the national chairman. Okeke became the national chairman.
That is the background I'm giving you.
Okay.
I said I'm starting from their claim before the court.
Right.
Because from their claim, you now get to what the court eventually decided. So, in the final decision of the court held that Edozie Njoku was validly suspended. So, that was the very first place that we had a validation of a national convention conducted in Owerri. That judgment of Jigawa High Court. That was the only time. Now, because at the time this thing was happening, none of these parties was ever national chairman. Oye, as the substantive national chairman, who had a judgment of a high court validating his convention in 2020. Remember, this thing was happening in 2021. So he applied to the Court of Appeal to be granted leave to appeal as a party interested, because at the time the court in Jigawa purported to donate his office to another person, he was already the national chairman. And the Court of Appeal granted him leave. Meanwhile, recall, Edozie Njoku applied to be joined, and the court refused him leave to appeal. On this studio, I questioned that decision here, because I said, since his name was mentioned, he ought to have been joined.
Exactly.
For whatever it is worth, it is for him to go and ventilate his case. But he was not joined. Of course, the subject of our discussion is not to begin to argue why he was joined and why he wasn't joined. Now, in the Court of Appeal, Kano, the Court of Appeal made a finding. Let me read that finding. It's very simple. It's at page 80 of the judgment. And I said something. I've told you this thing. Whenever they come to your studio next time, ask them to give you judgment of court. You don't come to a studio to talk about judgment and you are speculating.
It is not a court. The studio is not. What we do here is
purely
political. So if it is for them to come and tell their story, then you are also here to tell their story. So when you're asking me to tell them, give me court paper before you talk.
There is what we call hardcore evidence.
No, but hold on. I cannot tell someone who is a guest to my program that before you come to my program, make sure you come with.
No, but if he says,
did I tell you to come with court papers?
Look at where the irony is. Look at where the irony is. How will someone on your studio come and say that the court stated this? The simplest thing, you can't go to court now and say that the court said so and so. You must produce either the original copy of the judgment of court.
That is the court. It is a different issue when it comes to journalism.
This is a court of public opinion.
What we do is we report breaking news
yes.
as it is happening.
No, but
so it happened that very day.
Yes.
Even less than an hour
exactly.
after it was a Zoom judgment.
And even at that time, he did not even know what the Court of Appeal decided. And he was here. Ranting. And let me withdraw that word, ranting. I say I don't like using harsh words. No. Now, let me read what the Court of Appeal Kano said. He says, this is, first of all, it started at page 78, where he said, meanwhile, the second appellant, Chief Victor Oye, had gotten the judgment of Anambra State High Court sitting in Awka in suit number A92-2020, delivered on the 18th of November 2020, wherein the National Convention of the first appellant, APGA, held in Awka, was validated. Now, this is the finding of the court. He said, such election, the second appellant was elected into the office at the convention of the party, which was held on the 31st day of May 2019. Such election has been validated by the judgment of the Anambra State High Court referred to above. There is no evidence that such judgment has been set aside on appeal or by the court that delivered it. Consequently, it is clear that as at the time the suit leading to this appeal was initiated in Jigawa, the second appellant, Oye, was the validly elected national chairman of the first appellant, APGA. End of quote. This is the first Court of Appeal judgment on the tenure of Oye as a national chairman.
But I thought that all these judgments,
yes,
all of them, whether
yes,
from the High Court,
yes,
the Appeal Court,
yes,
before this last appeal,
yes,
was settled at the Supreme Court.
Yes.
It was.
I'm getting to the Supreme Court.
Should be the apex.
Yes, I'm getting to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Now, this no. Because you see, these things are germane to what we are discussing. So it was delivered on the 14th of October 2021. If you read the orders of the court, the orders of the Supreme Court, the last or the second to last order is the judgment of the court below is hereby affirmed, which includes this finding by the Court of Appeal that I read to you now.
The court below.
Yes, that is the Court of Appeal. At the Supreme Court, they describe the Court of Appeal as the court below because appeals go from the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. Yes. So it's either they call it the lower court or the court below. So they said the judgment of the court below is hereby affirmed.
So what now gave room to interpretation?
Now,
because I remember that they were calling for interpretation.
This is where
what has happened in the Supreme Court.
Yes, this is where the whole issue started. It started when sometime in 2022, we saw on social media a purported corrected judgment of the Supreme Court. That was where this whole stuff started. And then that purported corrected judgment, Oye, who was the second respondent in this appeal at the Supreme Court, had his name removed and was replaced with the name of Chief Edozie Njoku. And they alleged, that's the allegation.
That it was an error.
No, they alleged that it was a correction to that judgment by the Honorable Justice that delivered the lead judgment. His Lordship, Honorable Justice Mayor Dele retired. That's where it started. Now, if it was about the error at page 13, someone like me wouldn't have minded. Because from day one, we agreed that there was an error at page 13.
Okay.
You know why there was an error? Because at page 13, Justice Odene was giving the background fact at the trial court. Remember, that's why I started the story. The background fact was that it was Edozie Njoku that was removed. Not Oye. Oye came in at the Court of Appeal because while they were fabricating their tales by moonlight, he was already the national chairman, validated by a court. So the Honorable Justice Mary Odele is now trying to strike out, because she eventually struck out the suit. And that's, I will come to the effect of another of the striking out a suit.
No, we don't even need, because of time.
Yes.
We may not need those explanations.
No, it is this explanation, because we are talking to Nigerians. And
Nigerians already understand what
Nigerians
you're
are
saying.
taking note.
Those who followed
Yes.
the foundation of this national leadership tussle in APGA,
yes,
they know that at the time they had different courts, different court orders from courts same jurisdiction.
On all these things. No, that
there was a time it was like that.
You see,
in the night, this person will have a case. In the morning, another one will come.
It's a wrong assumption. Like I said earlier on, the only judgment ever that purportedly validated an Owerri Convention was the High Court in Jigawa, which was subsequently set aside on appeal.
But let me ask you this question. If you say that the convention in Owerri was not a valid convention.
Yes, it was not. Not that it wasn't a valid convention.
Okay.
It was. I was trying to read another judgment. It was nullified.
That is the court.
Yes, the Court of Appeal. Even the second.
Hold on.
Okay.
You know where I'm going to.
Yes.
The same Jigawa case.
Yes.
Was the one that went to appeal.
Exactly.
And when that case went to appeal.
Yes.
The then National Chairman of APGA, who is holy.
Yes.
Said he wanted to join.
Yes.
And he was allowed to join.
Yes.
And the case there is nullifying, is it nullified or validated the convention?
No.
He said it was nullified.
No, it's not nullification.
No, I said it validated the convention.
Exactly.
And he was joined in the matter that validated that convention.
On appeal.
Then that means he has accepted that there was a convention.
No, the question is, what did the Court of Appeal do? You don't say because he joined here. No, the Court of Appeal set aside the judgment of Jigawa. In essence, by setting aside that judgment, it means that judgment that validated that convention had been set aside. So there is no other judgment validating it upon it being set aside by the Court of Appeal.
And that's why the matter went to the Supreme.
Yes.
And according to what you said, the Supreme Court also
affirmed the decision of the Court of Appeal.
Then where is this appeal coming from?
Now, after the Supreme Court correction, that's the trajectory of the story I was telling you. Because we are used to these people. After the Supreme Court correction, some of his cronies went to a federal high court in Abuja. Their case before the court was that they were the duly nominated presidential and National Assembly candidate by Edozie Njoku.
Okay.
And that the Supreme Court, by that correction, because remember, like I said, the Supreme Court corrected the background fact where they made a clerical error. And His Lordship, Honorable Justice Lawal Garuba, stated that the correction of this error does not affect or did not affect the substance of the judgment delivered by the Supreme Court.
But it was corrected.
Yes, it was corrected. So what was corrected? The background fact. The question is, that correction, does it create an enforceable right? No. Because the judgment of the Supreme Court was that the lower court, the trial court, had no jurisdiction. And if the court says that the trial court had no jurisdiction, how can someone in his right senses claim to have been declared the national chairman?
But there was a judgment from an appeal court recently.
That is what we are saying. I'm coming to all this. Now, first of all, they went to Federal High Court Abuja before Honorable Justice James Omotosho. When they brought this claim, Honorable Justice Omotosho read the correction by the Supreme Court. I remember I was in court that day, and he asked the counsel to Edozie Njoku's cronies. He asked him to stand up. He said, I thought you told me that the Supreme Court replaced Oye with Edozie Njoku. He said, yes. He said, where is it in this judgment?
This same appeal court?
Yes. No, Federal High Court now. Because they were the ones that went to the Federal High Court. Yes. He said, where did it replace Oye's name?
So what was the final judgment from there?
The final judgment from there was that the Supreme Court, the correction of the clerical error. You remember? You need to understand.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I have those 3 minutes.
No. There's what we call correction of an accidental slip.
Okay.
It does not affect the substance of the judgment.
The judgment.
The judgment was that the judgment for the lower court or the court below was affirmed. Now, after that, they went on appeal. The Court of Appeal dismissed their appeal.
Okay. This same Court of Appeal?
Yes, this same Court of Appeal.
The one that came last week?
Not the one that was last year, after they went to the Federal High Court. Now, when the Court of Appeal dismissed their appeal, they abandoned, they didn't go to the Supreme Court, they stopped there. They now ran to FCT High Court.
Okay.
And now, at the FCT High Court, because you must understand these things, their claim, let me read one of their claims before the court, or one of the reliefs they sought at Buhari High Court. He said, a declaration that the subsisting judgment of the Supreme Court recognizing the party's National Executive Committee, led by Chief Edozie Njoku, elected at the Owerri Convention of 31st May 2019, which has been served on the respondent, that is Oye on INEC, and should be obeyed and complied with by the respondent. The court did not grant this.
But they got it at the appeal?
No.
They didn't?
They did not. That's why I told you that.
But INEC cannot, from all the explanation you have given now,
yes,
you are indirectly saying that INEC did not study the judgment.
As simple as that.
And they went ahead to implement what they are not aware of.
Remember when I came here?
Hold on. You know when we started?
You see, you must understand why. The question is, the next question should be, why did INEC take the decision they took? It's very paramount.
Hold on, I'm also going there.
Yes.
Because when we started,
yes,
I mentioned one thing, that INEC will definitely sit with its legal team.
yes.
And in the legal team of INEC, you
Now,
have civil lawyers and civil advocates.
Let me tell you what
happened.
happened.
You think that they will overlook
this?
Let
me tell you what happened.
What happened?
I can tell you what happened.
What happened?
Free.
Okay.
Now, INEC bowed to a blackmail.
Without consultation.
I will tell you that it is a fact.
Without consultation. The INEC chairman, nobody consulted.
Remember, I'm telling you what happened. If you recall, at a point, I don't know, you heard the story about a contempt proceedings
against the INEC chairman. Yes.
That was the reason they did what they did. Simple and short. Because, and like I said earlier on, and we tried to explain it to Nigerians, that contempt proceedings was not in respect of this judgment. You must understand it. Before the court granted this judgment, the court made an interlocutory order restraining the respondent, Oye and INEC, from proceeding with APGA convention. Now, eventually, there was a High Court judgment of Anambra State mandating APGA and Oye to conduct convention.
You see, the confusion is just that political parties in Nigeria, they always have different court. When we go to Anambra, when we go to Jigawa, when we go to
whatever is the case.
That's the confusion.
That's what I'm saying. Whatever is the case, the fact remains that it was not Oye, because it is very strange for you to say that an individual conducts convention. I don't know if you recall the case of Jegede and INEC in Ondo, when some persons or the PDP candidate challenged the authority of the then acting national chairman, Governor Buni, to conduct APC primaries. What did the court say? And was affirmed by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, there is no way you can say that a primaries where members of a political party came together to vote and elect somebody, you cannot nullify such a primaries because of want of authority of one man. In essence, it was not Buni that conducted the primary. It was APC. Yeah. And so that's the same thing.
That is in APGA.
In APGA.
So what are you saying now? Now that, because if you go to the INEC website,
yes,
Edozie Njoku's name that is there.
Of course, and that's why we say INEC needs to come and explain to Nigeria, because it is not enough. I remember in those days when Barrister Festus Okoye was a national commissioner.
He will come on air to
give
explanation.
Yes. Someone needs to come on air. You must
and
not be
explain to APGA members.
Exactly. You
because Nigerians have various political parties.
No. Nigerians are interested because here we are upholding the rule of law.
Yes.
And an institution like INEC, created by the Constitution, being a public institution, must act within the confines of the law. It is not for them to act arbitrarily. So when you upload someone's name on your website and you say
there should be an explanation.
There must be you tell us the court order. I have the judgment. I have the judgment of the Buhari High Court. The only thing the court stated here, everything the court said, was in respect of Oye.
All right.
He only said Oye had no right to act as chairman. He did not say who has the right. And so the best thing INEC could do, and we are going to equally issue them a demand immediately.
To keep a clear explanation.
Not clear. We have read the whole judgment.
They should at least explain how they came to that.
We're not asking them.
They should restore your name.
Immediately. We're not asking them for any explanation.
They should just restore your name.
And in any event, whatever is the contempt proceedings which made them, because as far as I'm concerned, it was a pure blackmail.
Right.
Now, there is a pending appeal at the Supreme Court, and good a thing. This whole stuff started from the Supreme Court. So it is the Supreme Court. No, just the final one. It is the Supreme Court that has the ultimate powers now to now say, because all these speculations are in respect of their own judgment. So what INEC should have done would have been to wait on the Supreme Court to say, this is what we said on 24th March.
Have you got to appeal this last judgment?
I am not a party.
And is anybody appealing it?
It's none of my business.
But then where will the Supreme Court?
As of today, the fact is, Oye has appealed.
Okay.
But the fact remains that
Oye is no more the national.
That's the question. APGA, that you have now changed APGA's national chairman on your website, is not even a party in the matter.
All right, thank you so much, Barr Sly Ezeokenwa, National Chairman of APGA. This whole APGA leadership, we're just waiting for when it will.
No, the problem is always a 4-year regime.
Barrister, let's